Oh, there-
Hi, where's everybody else?
I don't know. It was like I thought I was late.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's 8 already. Wow, okay.
Maybe they have power outages.
Well, they're not in the Palisades, thank God.
Well, I know my mother-in-law has a power outage.
Where's she?
She's on Genesee near Melrose.
Oh, I know a lot of Transformers were popping all day. I wonder if it's related.
Yeah, could be. So if we stay okay.
It's crazy. It's just wow. They haven't stopped anything. It just keeps on getting bigger and bigger.
Every year we have one of these big winds. All the palm trees have. This is the only way the city cuts the palm trees down. All the leaves.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know they left like a firecracker, and then boom, all the embers fly, and then
No,
goes
I'm
off
talking about
again.
the palm branches on Highland,
Oh, oh,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
And they make a lot of noise. They fall. I mean, they don't do any harm, but they fall down and they're very noisy when they fall down.
Right, right. Now they say in Altadena there's a fire. Crazy. Wow. Did they say how it started? Any idea?
Where in Palisades?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably an Arab. It's
Or
terrible whenever there's like a terrorist attacking thing. You're like, please let it be an Arab.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Because you see, white supremacists.
See that thing in New Orleans? You did a good job. You forced it to be an Arab.
Terrible. Yeah.
They said he was a good guy. Oh, he was a good guy. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm actually on the LAWP outage map.
Oh,
So let's see what they got over here. How come they're not showing any outages here?
oh, here we go.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, the fire is really bad, eh?
Yeah. Oh, Chaim, I see there's an outage on Martel,
Oh yeah?
just north of Melrose.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how many if they reported it. I don't know.
Oh,
Thank you.
Good evening. We have a nice crowd here at the Agatston home.
oh, good.
We braved it during the wind.
They blew in.
Did you go out to eat?
Yeah, we did.
Where'd you
We
go?
went to Geschmack.
Great pastrami.
Yes, yes.
That's-
Tell us about
Yeah,
that.
but it's right.
Yeah.
I wasn't exaggerating. Right? It's very good.
It's close.
What place is that?
Good time outside.
Yeah. What was that?
What place did you mention is good?
Oh, Yaakov and Haila Yellen went to Geschmack.
Oh,
And-
good.
Because I told him about the pastrami sandwich.
Saturday night.
Where are we holding?
Remember they used to
178,
178.
79 actually.
Got it. Thank you.
Doing malacha.
You were on Beverly. What's the name of the steak place that they took over next door, the ice cream place?
Say it again.
There was a steak restaurant. And then next to it was an ice cream place and they took over that too. And then they closed. Now there's a trade place where the meat. Charcoal. So a dairy place.
Charcoal was very good.
A dairy place took over next door. I don't remember the name of it, but their food was excellent.
But don't, I see you tuning for she, you get restaurant revenue.
Right, we're on 179. This is, we talked about restrictions of eating before, or even drinking, before you make Havdalah. And Chazal enacted a second restriction before starting Havdalah of not performing Malacha. Even when Shabbos has already concluded. We're talking about there's 3 stars out. There's Tzesa Kochavim. So from a temporal point of view, Shabbos is over, but you're prohibited to do Malach until you make Havdalah. The Gemara Masechta Shabbos explains that although one may not perform Malacha Motzei Shabbos until after Havdalah, for this purpose, the full Havdalah is not required, and it is sufficient to recite just Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. For example, you come into your house and you need to turn the light on. You haven't made Havdalah yet, so you can say Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol and turn on the light. Tzurba M'Rabanan Tignis. This is Masechta Shabbos Kuf Nun Amud Beis. Mishum Elazar ben Yaakov. Osur l'Adam sheyasa chafetz kodem sheyavdil. A person cannot start doing his own private work prior to Havdalah. Amarle Ravav Ravashi. B'marav Armin Hachi. In Eretz Yisrael, we would say Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol and Vavdin and Sorchin, and then we could start work. Ravashi. Kiavina Bei Rav Kahana, when we were studying in the yeshiva of Kahana, Hava Omar, Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol, Umisaltin and Silti, and then we would cut wood to have fire. Rashi explains that the requirement to recite, Rashi here in Masechta Shabbos, that the requirement to recite this formula is to mark that Shabbos has ended prior to performing Malacha. If one has already davened Ma'ariv and recited the Havdalah, which is in the bracha of Ata Chonantana within the prayers, it's certainly sufficient to fulfill this requirement. And you wouldn't have to say even Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol. If you've already davened Ma'ariv and said Ata Chonantanu, that's enough. Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol, le'akere ba'alma, le'lavos es hamelech. We are accompanying the king as he leaves the Shabbos. After we've made, let's say, Havdalah in the Ata Chonantana, or let's say after we've said Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol, then we make a formal Havdalah ala kos. The kosh came diavdu b'tfila mutar lasas tracha. Here's where he says, Rashi reminds us that besides saying Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol, if you've already davened Ma'ariv and you've said Havdalah in Ata Chonantana, that's already enough. You still have to make Havdalah ala kos. So based on this Gemara, the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah codify the prohibition of Malacha before Havdalah. So it's Or Chaim, Reish, Tzadik Tes, Osir Lasos Shum Malacha Kodem Sheyavdil. Shulchan Aruch codifies that it's prohibited to do work before Havdalah. V'mhivdil b'tfila, if during Ma'ariv and Ata Chonantanu you said the Havdalah, mutar aval pi shadayin lo hivdil ala kos. Even though you haven't made the formal Havdalah on the kos of yayin, you can still do your work. Now, let's say you haven't davened Ma'ariv yet, and you have to do some work. Hamad ben HaKodesh ben HaChol below bracha v'oisem malacha. Says the Ramah, v'chein noshim, women, she'einen mavdilim b'tfila. They usually don't daven Ma'ariv, so they don't make the Ata Chonantanu Havdalah. Yesh lelamdan, we should teach them sheyoimru Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol kodem sheyasu malacha. Before they, for example, they assemble all the Havdalah equipment, turn on the light in the kitchen, whatever, they should also be taught to say Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol. The Mishnah Berurah adds several points from later Achronim, including the fact that even rabbinic prohibitions may not be performed before reciting Hamavdil, and that reciting this formula alone does not permit eating. That means the Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol allows you to do a malacha, but it doesn't allow you to eat. That you have to do the formal Havdalah. Shum malacha afilu chafetz ma'asur midivrei Torah. So the Mishnah Berurah says it's not just lavi midoraisa, but even mirabba. And you should, if you want to do a malacha, you haven't made Havdalah yet, you should say this formula, Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. And then he brings the levush, Issa, Oimer Baruch Hamad ben Kodesh uven HaChol. Right? You don't say Baruch Ato Hashem, but you say Baruch Hamad ben Kodesh L'chol. Mikol Makom, Eino Nikra Ze Bracha. But that's not called a bracha, even though you use the word Baruch, even She'ein Omer B'Hashem U'Malchus. You didn't say Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Melech HaOlam. You didn't say that. Umashadai b'loshen zeh le'inyan asis malacha, as to why it works in order to do malacha, shu leker ba'amad alavos hamelech. It's a hecker. Oh, Shabbos is over. We're being malavad Hashem. And then you say Ben HaKodesh, Ben HaTzorach Lomer, Kol HaLashon Shel Havdalah. You don't say the whole Ben Yisrael Amim, Ben Yom HaShvi L'Sheish B'Masa. No, you just say Ben Hamad Ben Kodesh L'Chol. We call Malcolm Linya Achila Lo Mahani. But this is only for Malacha. For eating, you can't eat at Sheyavil Ad Vogmur Lakos V'Gam B'Tfilah. He says for eating, you have to make Havdalah Alakos and you have to daven Ma'ariv. Says the Sharat Siyun, Im lo shispalel v'shachach lahavdil da'az dai b'kos levad. Now, if he forgot to daven, or he forgot to do the Atachon Tanu in the davening, then you don't need to do both. Then the Havdalah Alakos will be enough to allow you to eat. The Tzitz Eliezer of Eliezer Waldenberg, one of the major later poskim in Eretz Yisrael, writes that saying Shavua Tov, Gutavoch, after Shabbos is not sufficient to permit performance of Malacha. And one must mention the distinction between Shabbos and the rest of the week. That, although this is the accepted opinion, the opinion of one authority is cited earlier in this tshuva, that reciting Shavua Tov does permit the performance of Malacha. It's also referenced in Shmir Shabbos Kilchaso. I want to just read footnote 32. Achronim note that the prohibition of not discussing weekly activities like business, conducting business, asking a Gentile for Malacha, and other similar activities do not apply once Shabbos is over, even if one did not yet recite Havdalah or Baruch Hamad Ben Kodesh L'Chol. So that's over with on Shabbos, but not rabbinic prohibitions. Now, Amir L'Akum is also a rabbinic prohibition, so not sure what they meant by what the Mishnah Berurah meant. If he says Afilu Chafetzim Asur Divrei Sofrim, Amir L'Akum is a Divrei Sofrim. So I don't know. Some are particular, I'm reading footnote 31, not to perform any malacha until after Havdalah is recited in a cup of wine, and they don't use this Hamad Ben Kodesh L'Chol leniency. Some Rishonim maintain that only reciting a full bracha using the name of Hashem permits the performance of malacha. See the Torah Shabbos, the Or L'Tzion, Rav Moshe Sternbuch, and the Chuvas Vanagois. Moreover, some poskim are of the opinion that no one should perform extended malacha involving significant time and effort before of Tal's reciting. You mean we're talking like flipping on a light? You know, and that's nothing. So that you get away with a Hamad Ben Kodesh L'Chol. But to sit down on your computer and write a report for an hour, that's not what we're talking about. That you can get away with by just saying Hamad Ben Kodesh L'Chol. That requires formal Havdalah.
But the point of the first sentence that you can't do any malacha until you do bracha. How do you light the candle?
Well, you have to light the candle.
Light the candle.
That's a great kasha. That's a great kasha.
How do you do that?
Well,
He means other than that. That's what you have to say.
you know, on Yom Kippur, it has to be a Ner Shashravas. So they keep the 24-hour memorial light and you light from there. I don't know.
Yeah, but you don't do that on Motzei Shabbos.
Unless these machmirim who don't do any malacha, I don't know. I've never seen that or heard of
Okay,
that.
no, but maybe the Ika mitzvah is lighting on Motzei Shabbos. Ika mitzvah of the Havdalah is the lighting, right? Because that's when light was created. So we light a candle. So maybe that doesn't. That's that.
You want to say it doesn't count.
You can't be mabdil ben kodesh l'chol without lighting the candle. You can't be. So if you have that in mind, you're going to make Havdalah now. So that's why you're allowed to light the candle.
Didn't we learn last week that the lighting of the candle is extra? That's why women don't, even if they make Havdalah for themselves, they don't. The machlok.
Yeah, it's separate from Havdalah because it has to do
I missed that one. I wasn't there last week, so I'm sorry.
Okay, it's a good question. So the Tzitz Eliezer says, "Uladati yefshar latzeis b'amir shavua tov idei chovas avdala." You can't begin do malacha by just saying good tevach. B'yosef v'milim ela lo muskeres avdala ben kodesh l'chol. The thing that has to be emphasized is the distinction between holy and secular. V'yu'an b'sefer HaMitzvos la Rambam. He says, take a look at the Sefer HaMitzvos la Rambam. The Rambam wrote a Sefer where he talks about all the Taryag mitzvahs. The Ramban in the Milchamos argue with him on many of those mitzvahs. There's major fights that the Ramban has on this mitzvah, on that mitzvah. Of course, one of them is Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. The Rambam does not list it as one of the Taryag mitzvahs, and the Ramban does list it. And there's many examples like that where the Ramban and the Rambam have a different list. Okay, anyways, he says in the Sefer HaMitzvahs, Mitzvah say Kuf Nun Hey, the 155th positive mitzvah, Shekoitzev Shavdolahi, is Havdalah, because we learned last week that according to the Rambam, Havdalah is Midoraisa, just like Kiddush. Zachreu alayayin b'knisaso, and Zachreu alayayin b'yitziaso. We said that the Tosfos and the Ravid argue. Higam ken chelik mitzchir Shabbos v'takana mitzvos v'takanat mitzvoten, part of the mitzvahs. V'chein yuyan b'sefer Chinuch. It's also a Rishon, mitzvahs lamed aleph. Shekotev shamitzvah hi ledaber dvarim b'yom Shabbos b'knisaso. You have to speak about Shabbos on a way in, which we do with Kiddush. V'chein b'yitziaso. Sheyeh b'hem zecher gedulas hayom, to remember the greatness of the day, uma'alato, and its elevation, the havdalto, and how it is different from other days, the shavach, mishar yamin, ayin sham. That's why he argues saying a gitavach or shavuotov is not enough. Okay. We spoke about the earliest time for Havdalah last week. Now we're going to talk about the latest time for Havdalah. If for some reason one was unable to recite Havdalah, Motzei Shabbos, may one still recite it on the next day or on subsequent days? This question may also be relevant to the far northern regions of the world, such as Norway, Alaska, where Shabbos does not end until the middle of the night. At least it doesn't get dark. May one spending Shabbos there go to sleep before Shabbos has concluded and recite Havdalah the next day. The Gemara Masechta Pesachim states that one who did not recite Havdalah Motzei Shabbos may do so until Wednesday. Amri b'nei Rav Chia, Mish lo hivde b'Motzei Shabbos, mavdil v'holech b'chol HaShabbos kulam. He can continue to do Havdalah in the rest of the week. Ad kama, Am Rab Zera ad Revi b'Shabbos. So, l'chora, until Tuesday night. L'chora. Yom Revi starts Tuesday night. Ki had Yosef Rav Zer kamed Ravasi. Like Rav Zer was sitting in front of Ravasi. But Amrila, some people say was Ravasi kamed Rav Yochanan, but Yosef v'Komar. They sat and he said, Le'inyan gitten chada b'shabta. For example, if they, sometimes in the Git, they'll say the beginning of the week. They'll say after Shabbos. So, in Git and Chada b'Shabta Trevet Plosa, the Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday are all considered Basar Shabta. And the phraseology in the Get will be Basar Shabta. And you get away whether, if, for example, if it's Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, that'll fulfill that. If you say before Shabbos, that refers to Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But when you make the boirim orea eish bracha, that you must do Saturday night. Because we learned last week as well, because fire was created Motzei Shabbos. So that can't be moved. That's what the Gemara says. So, although the sons of Rav Chia seem to allow Havdalah to be recited for the whole week, Rav Zera clarifies that the entire week means only until Wednesday. Rashi explains, based on the second part of the Gemara we learned, with respects to Gittin, that the period from Wednesday onward is really have no shaykhs to the prior Shabbos. It's really connected to the following Shabbos rather than the previous one. Thus, until Wednesday is exclusive of Wednesday. Like I said, Tuesday night is the limit. This is the assumption of Moshe Rishonim in the Shulchan Aruch, as we will see shortly. Over the Rambam writes that one may recite it until the end of Wednesday. The Beis Yosef writes that it is possible that the Rambam had an alternate text of the Gemara, and indeed Rav Yosef Kapach is one of the major editions of the Rambam, confirms that in a Yemenite manuscript of the Gemara, the continuation of the Gemara regarding bills of divorce is not presented as the explanation for halacha. So this whole kama shapta, basar shapta, really doesn't apply. Okay, so Rashi there in Psachim, when it says Ad Revi b'Shabbos, Avam Revi ulahalan Gabi Shabbos haba mischashe. But from Wednesday on, it's sort of connected to the next Shabbos. Later on, according to our text of the Gemara, Rava echoes the words of the Bnei Rav Chia. Amrav Hilchasa Tam Mekadesh. So normally, you're not allowed to eat before you make Kiddush on Shabbos. But if you did eat something, you're still allowed, it's not a negative where you can't recite the Kiddush. We want you to recite the Kiddush and then eat, but if you tasted something, you're still allowed to make Kiddush. Similarly, we learned you're not allowed to eat before Havdalah, but the Tam Mavdil, just like Tam Magdish, Tam Mavdil. If you tasted something, you can make Havdalah. Mishlo Kiddush Be'erev Shabbos. We're talking about Vayichulu, Yom HaShishi, and the big Kiddush that we say, that we ends with Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaShabbos. If, let's say, God forbid, a person was at the hospital Friday night and couldn't make Kiddush at home. He makes it the next day. Not the little Kiddush that we say, Baruch Atah Hashem Boi Pri HaGofen, but you recite the full Kiddush. We learned that when we studied Kiddush. So says Rava, Mishlo Kiddush Be'erev Shabbos, Mekadesh Volach Kol Yom Kulo. Ad Motzei Shabbos. If, let's say you only get home, by Mincha time, you have up until Motzei Shabbos to recite Kiddush. Mishlo Hidu B'Motzei Shabbos, Mavde V'Holech Kol HaShabbos Kulo. Rava actually quotes the Rav Chia, the Bnei Rav Chia, that says you have the whole week. Just like you have and the comparison is to Shabbos. Just like you have a whole day Shabbos, you have a whole following week, and not the ending at Wednesday. Rashi explains that here too, the entire week means only until Wednesday. However, the Rif had an alternate version of the text in which Rava only allows Havdalah to be recited until the end of Sunday. The Rif adds that this applies even if one ate already on Motzei Shabbos. Umaskona Amar Rava, the conclusion of the Gemara's debate was Rava, Hilchasa, Tam Mekadesh, Tam Mavdil, Umishalo Kiddush Be'erev Shabbos, Mekadesh V'Lo Kolem Klo, didn't make Kiddush Friday night, can make Kiddush Shabbos, Umishalo Yidu Motzei Shabbos, Mavdil V'Lo Kolem Klo, Avalo Ala Or, but he can't recite the Boy Maria Eish on Sunday night or Monday night. Mishamina de Lo Avdil Akosa B'Layla. If you didn't recite the regular Havdalah over a cup at night, Avagav the Tam Matzil Avdul Mochor. Even though he ate, he still can recite the Havdalah based on what Rava said. Tam Mavdil. That eating doesn't prevent you from being able to make Havdalah after eating. Kedarmin and Tam Mekadesh and Tam Mavdil. So that's why it's important to learn these Gemaras to see how did the halacha develop. Now, the Bahag, the Baal Halachas Gedolos lived in the time of the Gaonim. You're talking about 900,000. He's a very early codifier, even before the Rambam. He has the same text as the Rif, but writes that if one ate Saturday night, he may no longer recite Havdalah the next day. Mishlo Yivdu Motzei Shabbos. Ma'av v'holach kol yom kulo. He can continue making Havdalah the whole next day, the rest of Sunday. Hani milihud lo tamidi, as long as he didn't eat something. V'afal gav domer mar tam avdil, even though Rava said in the Gemara, somebody who ate, right, he's not supposed to, but he did it anyways, he's still allowed to make Havdalah. That's heicha de kamavdil be'urta. He was talking about when it says tam avdil, when he's doing it at night. Aval kamavdil l'mocha lo tamidi mavdil, meaning if, as long as he didn't eat the night before, he can actually make full Havdalah the next day. But v'ita midi lo mavdil. But if he ate Saturday night, you may not do the Havdalah on Sunday.
So what about if he drank? That get back into what we learned last week about what was about drinking water?
So water may be nothing, but other mashke like wine might be a problem because that's more. So how do we pass? The Shulchan Aruch quotes the halacha as it appears in our text of the Gemara, but he then adds the opinion of the Rif based on his text, as well as the position of the Bahag. So you see, the Shulchan Aruch, he brought everybody down. The Ramah confirms that the halacha follows our text of the Gemara. Shochach v'lo hivdil b'motzei Shabbos, mavdil ad sof yom shlishi. So you make Havdalah until the end of Tuesday. V'yesh oimrim, sheinu mavdil, ela kol yom rishon lo yoser. That was the Rif, right? Right. That's what he's bringing from the Rif. V'davke bor peragefen v'madben kol shachol. Aval al neru b'samim mevarich l'motzei Shabbos. So bor mera'esh and b'samim. B'samim is to revive us because of the neshama yisera. We get an extra neshama on Shabbos, it leaves us, so we have to sort of revive it. But you can't, it only works then. It doesn't work after Motzei Shabbos. And of course, the fire was created Saturday night, so that bracha is limited to Saturday night. That's V'yesh mishu oimer, ta'ad kamil and tan mavdil. Rava, who said that it's okay if you ate something, you could still make Havdalah. That's hani milech d'abdil below Motzei Shabbos. But that rule that leniency is only if you made Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos. Aval im loyde b'layla kiven shetam shavenu man. If you had a dinner Motzei Shabbos, Malav Malka, so that would prevent you from Va'ikra Kisvar Rishona, which is until Tuesday. That's how the Ramah concludes.
So when we say Motzei Shabbos, I assume we're talking about Akil Alos on Sunday morning. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be, I mean,
Yeah.
that's Motzei Shabbos until the next minute.
Yaakov asked, what is the definition of Motzei Shabbos? Well, we know night, L'chol HaDeis is until Alos HaShachar. So that's still considered night. So that means what you're trying to say is the issue of the Tam Mavdil,
Right.
that if you ate something, you can still make Havdalah all the way until Alos HaShachar, according to that Shita, because it remains night.
It's not.
There was a machlokas we had in Tzvika Reisman's Shir. Those of you who were there remember there's a machlokas whether you can still light Chanukah lecht after Alois. It's totally in this thing. Is it totally in Laila, or is it totally in day, in light, right? Because Tiara you don't see. There's no Persumei Nisa unless it's dark. So is it a day night thing? Is it a Yom Laila thing, or is it? If it's still dark, it's still okay. So that's it. If you hold that it's totally in Laila, then you would not be able to light Chanukah after Alos. If it's totally in whether it's dark or light outside, it's certainly dark after Alos, so you'd be allowed to light Chanukah. There's machlokas. I don't know. It was Mishnah Berurah versus someone else that he mentioned. This is totally and exactly the same thing that Yaakov is mentioning here about the trigger. When would you not be able to make Havdalah once Alos HaShachar comes? So will you pour me 1 second?
So it actually does raise an interesting question if you are. This actually happened to me. We were in Whitehorse, which is the capital of the Yukon. And Shabbos, it was June, the week of.
Is that very north?
21st.
Is that very north?
Very far north. It's in, yeah.
So it's one of those territories, it's not on the first level, it's actually on the second level in Canada.
Correct.
Oh, so it's mamish, so you probably don't have, doesn't get dark.
No, in Whitehorse, it does get dark. We actually were during the week in a place where it doesn't get dark. But for Shabbos, we went south, because we didn't want to be the suffering.
Right, okay.
We were in a place called Inuit, where it never gets dark, during the summer. So we went to Whitehorse, where it does get dark, but it got dark at 2:30 in the morning. So, so according to the opinion that you can't, well, I guess everybody holds you could do it, no, but the question is, can you make Bar Mitzvah? Because what are you supposed to do then?
Well, why not? Once, certainly, if it got dark, if there was a Tzeisa Kochavim event, so
No, that, you're right. Now, here's my question. So according to that.
Rav Yaakov is
Yeah.
asking about, he was in Yukon territory, very north. We also had this discussion at Tzvika Reisman Shir about those places where it never gets dark. But by the way, the poskim say you should not live in those places. That's the response, because there is no answer. They actually say that you're potter from mitzvahs that are tied to time. So you're talking about tefillin, tzitzis, so that you're potter, you're literally potter from Shabbat, potter from these dinim that have to do with time.
But here's my question. That means you have to stay up till 2:30 in the morning to make Havdalah. Because if you don't want to miss the night, if you want to be able to say Bar Mitzvah,
Why can't you go to sleep, set an alarm, and then
that's
you
what
wake
you
up?
have to do. I'm saying you have to, well, you can't set an alarm. You have to set the alarm before Shabbos, because the Shabbos ends at 2:30.
So you want to go to sleep, you have to set the alarm before,
You have to set the alarm.
to be able to wake up
Right,
2:30,
because.
to say Havdalah in the proper
Correct.
time.
That's what you had to do. We just made Havdalah Sunday morning. I think we made Bar Mitzvah. I didn't know this.
Okay, so,
You know what we learned last week? You're not supposed to live there. You're not supposed to go there. That's it.
you live there,
Well, they say you shouldn't go there. It says not live there.
right, it says
Yeah.
not live.
That's
You
not
could go,
it.
you could go for like
Allah, if you shouldn't live there, Allah has come, you shouldn't go there. So
You think it's even worse to go there. No, but we were above the Arctic Circle during the week, but we intentionally.
They came down
came
south
down,
for
right,
Shabbos,
Came down south.
where they
for
were
Shabbos.
during the week, there was no night and
There's
day.
no night. So we didn't want to do that on Shabbos, so we came down for Shabbos, but it's still.
how do you
Learning that sugya, it became clear. There's issues of tefillin,
Right.
there's issues of davening.
how do you
All
daven
of our
Mariv?
days.
How do you daven Mariv for Shachris?
They didn't, they had a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. I know the opinions, because I really did a study of this before we went. And I know there are many opinions. There's a famous letter where the son-in-law of the rabbi of Ben, one of the countries, wrote him a letter. You can find this letter. He wrote him a letter saying that a business opportunity above the Arctic Circle, and he wanted to know the halachas. So the Rav writes a very scholarly tshuva about this and that, and then at the end, he said, Sof Dover, he said, Rabbanu Shalom is the one who provides parnasa. Don't go there, because you can get parnasa from other places. After going through all the sources, it's like a 5-6 page letter.
Speaker may have had that source. I have it upstairs, because I brought it home.
It's an interesting.
Okay, so the Ben Ish Chai, who's a Sephardi posek from Baghdad, late 1800s, rules that since according to the Rif and the Bahat, reciting Havdalah any later than Sunday would constitute a bracha of Havdalah. One who did not recite Havdalah until then should not say the name of Hashem in the bracha of Amad ben Kodesh L'chol. Means if you're going to use this leniency, according to Ben Ish Chai, of making Havdalah Monday night, let's say you were not you were traveling all day Sunday for whatever reason or something, you didn't have access. You want to do it Monday, You could do it, but you wouldn't say the same of Hashem because of the remember, because with brachas, it's a suffix. Brachas, we always go lekula because brachas are rabbinic. So it's not like something midaraisa where we misfeka, we go lechumra. By Rabbanan, we go lekula, and in brachas, the kula approach is not to say the bracha. So you not to say the shame of Hashem. So nenas v'lo hivdei b'leil motzei Shabbos. Person had an accident, whatever, an incident, it couldn't do it Saturday night. So based on the Shulchan, based on the Gemara, the way the Shulchan Aruch paskin, you can do it until Tuesday, end of Tuesday. That's the thing. Like the kind of Havdalah we do after a Yontif. Let's say Pesach ends Wednesday night. What do we say? We say Boi Priagafen. That's it. That's our Havdalah. You do the same thing when you make Havdalah for Shabbos, not Motzi Shabbos. Since there's a machlokas between the Rif, right, the earlier Rishonim, whether you can do it till Tuesday, whether you can have to stop by Sunday, so that's already considered a suffix. It's a suffix midina. What is the din when you have a machlokas aposkim? It can also be a suffix. So this ruling of the Ben Ish Chai is accepted by many contemporary Sephardic poskim. Rav Mordechai Eliyahu takes this approach. Rav Ovadia Yosef originally agreed to this as well, although his son Rav Yitzchak claims that he later retracted and ruled that one may recite it with the name of Hashem until Tuesday. This claim is based on the Abia Omer, which was written by Rav Ovadia. However, in these responsa, Rav Ovadia only explicitly retracts his position regarding reciting Havdalah on Sunday, permitting the mention of the name of Hashem even for one who ate before Havdalah. So it's not clear, basically, how Rav Ovadia, based on his son, he did retract it. Okay. Who prefer to avoid the recitation of suffix brachos about which it is uncertain that one may recite them, even according to a minority of authorities. Among Ashkenazic poskim, there is, however, broad consensus that one may recite Havdalah with Hashem's name until Tuesday. For example, the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa Rav Neuwirth, who usually followed Rav Shlomo Zalman says, Lo hivdei b'motzei Shabbos, bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid. Let's say you willfully didn't do it. It's not just an accident. Yavdil miyad kishenisker. You should make Havdalah when you remember. Bein b'layla v'neged, it doesn't make a difference whether it's day or night. Achrei shispalel tefillah shachris. So that's interesting. He wants you to, let's say you wake up Monday morning and you realize you didn't make Havdalah. You shouldn't make Havdalah until you daven shachris. Why? I don't know. There may be a footnote there in the Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa that explains that. We've seen that the Shmir Shabbos is extremely footnoted. So he would probably have to explain that. Why? Anyways, Umadil ad sof yom shlishi, ad shkia sachama. So this gives us the definition. You may not make Havdalah after Shkia Tuesday night. I think it's very clear. I'm trying to remember if I have ever not made I required to make Havdalah not on Motzei Shabbos. I don't think I've ever done that. Has anyone experienced this halacha? No, everyone says no. That's amazing if you think about it.
You never got stuck at the hospital or anything like that? That's shots.
You know what? I'll have to ask Susie. Maybe she'll remember that I did it when I came home Sunday morning. Maybe. I just don't remember. Yaakov asked, what if I was stuck in the hospital Motzei Shabbos? There were days I was on call Shabbos. I didn't come home. Motzei Shabbos. I came home Sunday, let's say, or Monday. When I was an intern. That was just 1 year.
Lawyers don't get stuck.
No. So the Gemara that we quoted above stated the brach of Boyer Mireya Eish may only be recited Motzei Shabbos. The Shulchan Aruch in source 50 added that the same applies to the Bor Minei B'Samim. This halacha appears in the Tur and the commentary of the Beis Yosef there, that the function of the spices is only relevant Motzei Shabbos. The Lomad Rabbeinu L'B'Samim Mikol Shakein Sherei Einam El Hashiv HaNefesh, right? The B'Samim is supposed to revive our soul. Shedo Eges Al Yetzias Shabbos, because our soul is like upset that Shabbos is leaving. V'lo Shayich El Samach L'Tziaso. So being revived with the B'Samim, it's only appropriate right when Shabbos leaves. What about a machshava? In many households, it's customary to sing Zmirot about Eliyahu Navi, who, according to tradition, will announce the impending redemption before or after Havdalah. This song is first mentioned in the Machzor Vitri, which is a very early Machzor. You're talking about 1,000, 1,100, something like that. What is the basis for this custom? The Sefer Amani writes that since the Gemara states that Eliyahu will not arrive on Friday, so as not to trouble the Jewish people who are preparing for Shabbos, he mentions his name after Shabbos in the hope that he will arrive as soon as possible. There's also a custom that he's not going to arrive on Shabbos because of Tchum Shabbos, right? He cannot travel. There's limitations of travel. So he won't come Friday because we're too busy preparing for Shabbos. He's not going to come on Shabbos. So the earliest time he can come would be Motzei Shabbos. He's the one that's going to bring the good news. I just, in one of my albums that I have from Shlomo Carlebach. So you know that Shlomo Carlebach many times will introduce one of his songs with a story, many times. Certainly he did that in concert, a lot. And he has a song, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatish. So before that song, he gives the final, I heard him say the following, that some people like they can't wait until Shabbos is over so they can go to work. But that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be, wow, Shabbos is, that on Sunday I work for Shabbos. It means we work a whole week to benefit from Shabbos. And on Shabbos, there's no competition, there's no tacharut, there's no business, there's no kinna, there's no taifa, there's no kavod. Shabbos is me'ein olam haba. And all of a sudden, Shabbos is over. So we're down. Think about it. Eliyahu Navi is involved 3 times in our calendar. Number 1, when does he show up? By a bris. When you need chizuk. The tinok needs chizuk. Eliyahu Navi, because he's had this operation. We do it by shvach hamascha. Shvach hamascha is the persecution of the goyim. We need chizuk. And says Rav Karlbach that the same thing. Here we've been on this high for Shabbos. Now we're on a low. Eliyahu Navi comes to give us chizuk. Okay. So it says, this is based on what the Manik says. The Avodram offers an additional reason, based upon the famous Talmudic statement, that if the Jewish people observe Shabbos properly twice, they will be redeemed immediately. So when we recite Havdalah and think about Eliyahu Navi after Shabbos in the current challenging times, let us have special kavanah that Eliyahu Navi indeed reveals himself to us, heralding the final redemption speedily in our day. Okay, we can start the next section. continuing Hilchos of Motzei Shabbos and Havdalah. We'll go a little bit more in detail with Havdalah. In the previous year, we discussed how to calculate the time when Shabbos concludes and the basic obligation of marking the departure of Shabbos with Havdalah. Here, we will examine in detail halachos related to the various brachas of Havdalah, which includes the bracha on the wine, the psamim, fire, and the bracha of Havdalah itself. There are a number of customs and practices that are beyond the scope of this year. These include the custom to allow the Havdalah wine to spill over the sides of the cup when pouring it, how to extinguish the fire of the candle after Havdalah, and placing the leftover wine over one's eyebrows and putting it in your pockets. Didn't even mention that here. Right, but we can discuss it on our own. So it says in Masechta Brachos Nunal, Dvorm Shem Beis Shammai Beis Hillel B'Seuda. There's some differences between the followers of Shammai versus the followers of Hillel. Beis Shammai Oimrim Mevarach al Hayom v'achar kach mevarach al Hayayim. Shahayom goyrim liyayin shiyav. Why are we drinking wine? Well, it's the day that's causing it. Ukvar kiddush hayom, the day started. V'adayin yayin lo ba. But Beis Hillel no, mevarach al Hayayin v'achar kach mevarach al Hayom. So this is talking about kiddush when Shabbos comes in. We say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Boi Pri Hagafen, and then Baruch Atah Hashem Asher Kiddushan. We go into the kiddush. So we follow, of course, Beis Hillel. We don't do the kiddush and then Boi Pri Hagafen afterwards. We do the Boi Pri Hagafen first. Shahayayim Gorem L'Kedusha Shetei Omer. It's the wine that causes the kedusha to be said. Dover Acher. Birchas Hayayin Tadira. Ubirchas Hayom Eino Tadira. We have a principle in halacha. Tadir v'sheina tadir kodem. Something that you do more frequently. So you have two different mitzvahs, and you have to do them both. So which one do you do first? So the one that's more commonly done, you do that first. So wine we drink every day. We don't just drink wine on Shabbos. You can drink wine every day, but Shabbos only comes once a week. So yain is more tadir. So says Beis Shammai, that's another reason why we say Boi Pri Hagafen first, and then we say the Kiddush. We just finished Chanukah, and one of the days of Chanukah was Rosh Chodesh. And we have Kriya. On that day, we take out two Sifrei Torah. So what do we lay first, and what do we lay second? So they're the same thing. We have 12 Rosh Chodesh a year that we lay. Chanukah only comes once a year. So we lane first from Rosh Chodesh, and then we lane from Chanukah. It's the same principle.
The exception is mentioned, where we say Al Nisim first before the Al V'Yoda.
Because it's got to be said in Hoidah. Yaakov asked, based on Tadir, why do we say Al Nisim before Ya'aleh V'Yovo? The various things that we're mentioning in Ya'aleh V'Yovo, Rosh Chodesh, the various Yom Tovim, they come more. Well, Al Nisim is not Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, but Rosh Chodesh. So, because Halel V'Hodah, the Chanukah is a yontiv of Halel V'Hodah. Halel is Halel. Hodah means Al Nisim. That's placed in either Moedim or in benching in Noidelacha. So I think it overrides Tadir because it's the sort of the takana was made to do it then. The Sari Beis Shammai, the Birchas Hayom Adifa. So does Beis Shammai hold that you say Birchas Hayom first? Vatanya, Hanichnas leBeiso b'Motzei Shabbos. When you come into your house, Motzei Shabbos, Mevarach al Hayayim, first wine, then Valamor, then Valapsamim, V'achkach Omer Havdalah. V'im ein lo ela kos echad, he only has one kos. We're talking about, you just finished Shalosh Shudas, you had to bench with a kos, And let's say you only have one kos. You don't have two kosos. Meinicho la'achra mazon, umeshashlim kulon la'achra. And then you make the birchas Havdalah on that same kos. V'mimayde Beis Shammai hidilma Beis Hillel. Who says maybe it's not Beis Shammai, it's Beis. Let's look at that. Tiktani mo'or v'achar kach psamim. It can't be Beis Hillel because in this formulation, the Bor Merayesh was said before the psamim. Uman shamis leidi islay. Who is the one that says you recite the bracha on the fire before the psamim? That's Beis Shammai. The Tanya Amar Yehuda lo nechlik Beis Shammai Beis Hillel al amazon shebetchila val avdala shebesof. That if first you eat, then you make avdala. Aman nechlik val amor val psamim. Beis Shammai I mean mo or v'achakach psamim. First you make the bracha on the fire and then psamim. Beis Hillel I mean psamim v'achakach mo. Rav Yochanan no gam Beis Hillel libid Rav Yehuda. So of course we do Bor Pri Geffen, we do Besamim, then we do Bor Merayesh, and then we do the Havdalah. According to the conclusion of the Gemara, the proper order of the brachas of Havdalah is Bor Pri Geffen, Bor Besamim, Bor Merayesh, Amavdim Mekor Shulchan. This ruling appears in the Shulchan Aruch with the Ramah adding that our customs are to add verses. We do Hinei Kel Yeshuasi, right? Seder Havdalah Yain Psoim Ner Havdalah, the Simonech Yavna, Keilat Yavna, the Tzarach Lizar Shlo Yehei HaKos Pogum. You have to make sure nobody's drank from the kos, that the kos is not a pogum de kos, which we've learned previously. Says the Ramav V'Nogul Omer Kodem Havdalah Shoisim Vayis Hinei Kel Yeshuasi, Kos Yeshuas Esa, LaYehudi Ma'isa Oyer V'Simcha, and L'Simentov. These are all that we should have a good week. These are good simonim. In most Sephardic communities, the first verse recited is Rishon Letzion Hine Hina. It's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. If one recited Havdalah in an incorrect order, you don't need to repeat it. This is l'chatchila how you should do it. But if you didn't do it in the right order, it doesn't ruin your Havdalah. Afilu shina seder yotzi dechovas. You're yotzi. Lachenim tov v'kodim shebirch lapsami made a mistake. Before he did the besamim, his chelom bruchato Hashem amanas l'sayim boy mera'esh. Achen yisayim. Lo me'birchas aner v'yeman v'yenem aner v'achakach yivrach lapsami. Do the mera'esh first, rather than do a bracha levatol. Kol shekenim sayim v'omer boy mera'esh. Don't correct yourself. Use your finger as benefit from the the light. If you went ahead and quickly changed, it won't help him. You should benefit from the ner. His mind was on the candle. Okay, I'm not going to start the next halacha, because that's quite detailed about what other fluids you can use for Havdalah besides wine. So any questions, any comments? And then we'll also have Malava Malka. There's a lot more to learn about Havdalah and about Malava Malka. Comments, questions, Aros? No. Walter's Bernie okay?
I don't know. He wasn't at Mincha and he obviously didn't come on tonight. I don't know. I'll try to.
I came home late from the office. There was either because of the fire. First of all, it's crazy. Coming home from Inglewood, the whole western sky was full of smoke.
Yeah.
Okay.
There must have been
Fire.
Palisades is there.
There's a notice to evacuate in Santa Monica already, and in Beverlywood they got no electricity. It's like
But so I was saying, all the streets in La Brea had no electricity.
right.
So it took me an hour to get home because each intersection, it was backed up. You're talking about Venice, Washington, Pico. None of those had lights. Well, why would that be affected? Maybe because of wind. The wind is knocking poles down.
Who knows? Serious stuff. Serious stuff. I mean, the
Bad,
schools
It's
burned.
very interesting. This morning, I was in the office and Susie sends me a text, be careful with the wind. So I look out my window, I'm in Sentinella, there was no wind. I said, what are you talking about? She said, they must have gotten word there that it was going to come or
No,
something.
no, that's it. No, it's like in Brentwood. I think some of the schools burned down. Big schools. It's like serious stuff.
Beth Yaakov was sent home today, the girls' school.
Because of the
The
wind.
winds knocked the power out, so the fire department told them they had to close.
Okay, well, be safe, everybody.
Yes.
Have a good rest of your week.
Yeah, Palisades High School burned down. Palisades High School.
Wow. I played basketball there,
Yeah, a lot of people.
LA with friends.
Yeah.
The president was supposed to